Hello, everybody. Welcome to Outside the Box, the podcast devoted to supporting such a PA small business. If I could find my tabs here, I will keep going in. I was just telling Adam on that way that I have vacation brain right now because I'm going on a vacation right after this stuff. So, like I said, it's the podcast devoted to supporting such a PA small business. I am your host, Derek Bixler, realtor and digital marketing geek right here in Central PA. I grew up on the Hill in Harrisburg, went to Mechanicsburg High School, and then went up to Penn College of Technology in Williamsport, and have been back here ever since. Had a few sales jobs before I started selling real estate 15 years ago. If you need to buy or sell a home, please reach out to me. You can text me, email me, throw a rock through my window, send a carrier pigeon, whatever you need to do. We need inventory like crazy. Prices are sky high. People are paying crazy prices. So if you have a house to sell, now is the time for sure. If you want access to our networking mixer updates, our episode announcements, and exclusive special offers, that's always hard to say, exclusive special offers, go to supportcentralpa.com and you can sign up for our email there. It's just one email a week. I draft it, not spammy, just tells you what's going on. If you are on Clubhouse, I am at Agent Derek on there. Please follow me, and we will be on there right after the episode at 1 o'clock today. And we always have a nice crowd there. And last week we talked about mentorship, and then we shared our favorite something. So this week, I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I'm going to come up with a topic between now and 1 o'clock in my head. Like I said today after the episode, a reminder, ask a question in the comments. If you have any questions for myself or Adam over there, I point the correct way this time. Put them in the comments, and if we don't see it right now, we will come back and answer it. Reminder that the replays are on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all over the place, soon on iTunes, and all the podcast audio players, and actually sooner than we think, because I was putting it off until we started charging for these things or making some kind of money to pay for itself. It's not a lot, but I just didn't want to pay for the service. But somebody just clued me in that Anchor is now, their unlimited service for iTunes hosting is free. I think there's got to be some limitation on it, but at first glance looked like it was true. So hopefully we will be on all the audio podcast players soon. And that's good because all the search engines are going to start scanning podcasts. So we want to be in there for SEO. So reminder, all the replays are on there. And now we will get into the episode with Adam Lawrence of Process Improvement Partners. He is our productivity expert that we have on once a quarter. So this is second quarter already, which is crazy. Adam, say hello. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself for people that haven't seen an episode with you before. And then we'll get into the topic.
Well, hey, Derek, and hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on this quarter. So you're right, second quarter, amazing. So my name's Adam Lawrence. I live in Lancaster, PA, our second time here. Grew up in Maryland, started working in North Carolina via Virginia Tech, so go Hokies. So 30-year career helping industry around continuous improvement. The last 3 years, I've been out on my own as the managing partner for Process Improvement Partners. So I focus on helping companies and individuals improve their safety and productivity, and then helping them sustain the results that they're striving to achieve. So I work with a lot of teams. I help them spot what we would call waste or inefficiency or safety risk, and then I help them remove it. So I work shoulder to shoulder with folks. This is not a PowerPoint effort. I work with the folks. We find it, we remove it, and we get it removed and keep it that way forever. So that's what I do. And I know Derek through our local networking group.
Yeah, we've known each other for not very long now, but we interact a lot, more than anybody else in the networking group, I think, that I interact with. So it's good to get to know you and to tell everybody a little bit more about what you do. You can find Adam in the trenches. He usually goes to visit whatever business he's working with, and usually stays there for 3 to a week to 2 weeks. Sometimes you're international. So I want to toot your horn a little bit. You didn't list any of your accolades or anything. Maybe you could list some of them. A lot of times you're in a factory kind of helping a factory floor improve things. Not to say you don't help in other ways as well, but maybe you could list some of those factories that you've been helping with. I know there are some big brand names that people would recognize.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. So some of the groups that I work with, they actually like to stay out of social media. I found that out. So they're pretty protective, and I sign a lot of NDAs. So I'm not going to mention them. It's a nice thought, but I'd love to do that. But I have to respect their wishes. So I do work with international businesses. I also work with nonprofits. I actually helped, this one I can say, the United Way, improve their donor engagement time in such a significant way that they're getting fantastic feedback around it. I've worked with distribution, innovation, manufacturing, and service-oriented businesses as well. As Derek said, I do work in their business
I'm going to
I
point
do.
out, but I was just going to interject. Your book launch is out to the public, and one of the people you worked for, the head of all these major brands that I'm majoring, mentioned them in there, so they are out in the public already. I'll just mention that. You don't have to say them.
All
But
right. That's good. That's right. Yes, and there is a book. There it is. Yay. So thank you. I appreciate the plug. Yes. So Derek was the MC for my book launch, and he does remember that one of my key sponsors for key clients is a sponsor of mine, and he actually was telling Adam's stories, which was really kind of fun and maybe a little embarrassing, but they were true. So you got to live to so the whole idea is I like to try to have fun with my teams. Teams are working on really difficult problems. These are things that are worth hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars to them and on an annualized basis. I also work with groups that are working on much smaller work, but when we're doing that, it's not like something they know how to solve on their own. So it's hard work. So if you can have fun with it, all the better. People tend to work a lot better and get more creative when they're having fun. So I try to inject as much life into these activities. I was just with a client in New Jersey yesterday, got home last night, and just the excitement of the change that they saw in their business immediately was just infectious. So that's a lot of fun. I appreciate it. I've helped teams in China, Europe, Russia, Canada, probably about 15 to 20 countries, and maybe 20 to 30 states in the union. So it's been a lot of fun. Big, crazy, wild ride.
go watch the book launch if you want to get some of the names. There, it's public. Just go search on LinkedIn. Whatever's in there, you can obviously know, and you can get some more feedback or backstory on Adam. It's a nice watch, and it was fun to do. So I suggest to go watch that for sure if you want to learn more about Adam. So a question before we get into the topic: do you? I don't think I've asked you before. Do you work with more than one client at a time? I know sometimes you're staying there for a week or whatever, and you're implementing and teaching, and then you leave. Are you going back and forth with different clients at one time sometimes, or no?
Yeah. So when I'm working with a client, if I'm in their location, I'm fully focused on their efforts. But I have managed a number of clients at the same time. A couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, I actually ran 5 straight event weeks. And we can talk about that in a little bit, where 3 to 5 days with the team from the beginning to end, implementing at the very end and reporting their great results. And there were three different companies and 4 different locations involved in all of that. So the answer is yes. You have to be very careful and very focused when you're with the team you're with. So I was telling you earlier before we started recording, a day can start at 6 a.m. and end at like 8 p.m. easily, and maybe 3 or 4 straight days. So you really don't have time to do other things. But that's fine, because the team needs to be set up to win. And that's my whole focus, is to get them to that point where they have a winning experience.
And to teach them a way to sustain it, which is what your book is about. We'll give everybody a link at the end to pick that book up. But and you also teach them, you're not just leaving them and then everything falls apart. You're teaching them how to sustain it. And then you're also starting to do some ongoing work for some companies soon, right? Or you're trying to, or what do you do ongoing stuff with people?
So that was the visit this week that I came back from. It is ongoing, because right now they have one of their operating lines is not performing as well as they want. And so I am now on site on a weekly basis, anywhere from 1 to 3 days per week, and just basically supporting their efforts and helping fill in some of their capacity and skill gap. So yesterday, I was teaching a group how to improve the consistency of training across all their various groups of people that work in the facility. And then we actually were applying that immediately in the factory, so they could not only learn it, but actually apply it. And what was really cool was, as I was driving home, I got a text from one of the hourly workers that was so impressed by what we had done. She wanted to know where to get my book, which was really kind of cool. So real pleased with that. So as you've been mentioning, sustainability is probably the hardest thing that most businesses have to deal with. As hard as it is to solve a problem, the harder part is to make sure the problem stays solved. So I've spent the past couple of decades developing a system that helps problems stay solved. Say that 3 times fast. And the book's written all about that, how I got there and how it works and how to implement it. But I use it every time I'm with the team. And what's nice is when I come back to those locations 30 days later or a year later, things are as good as or better than we left it. So they feel that ownership and the performance is there. So that's exciting. And I wrote the book, not to sell a lot of books, which I know sounds a little crazy. The point was, it bothered me that much that people weren't sustaining the results they were working so hard to get, that I said, listen, I want to share this. I want to get this out to more people. That's why this week, self-promotion time, I'm offering a free Kindle download to anybody who wants it. So the point is not to sell lots of books here. The point is get it out there so people can use it.
Yeah, because like you said, sustainability is the hardest part of it. And it's a testament to you for being a good coach and a good trainer and good systems that you've developed over the years. But the same is probably true of a fitness trainer or a weight loss coach or a life coach or anything. You can give people systems and teach them how to do all these things. But then when you go away and nobody's looking, can they keep it up, and can they keep the motivation, and do they have the systems that set them up to succeed? Not a bunch of hurdles they have to jump through every time they do it. Make it really easy. Because I know you actually physically move machines. Like, why is that machine, the thing happens right before, right after this happens? Why is the machine way over there? How about we shimmy that over here, put it right up against, and now we've saved all kinds of time. So it's really, and part of it's probably just, they need to take the time out to do it. It's carving out the time and committing time, and having a third party come in and make them do it, and give them a little motivation. So I think it's great, and everybody should definitely pick it up, especially right now. It's free on Kindle. I'll wait for the Audible. I'm gonna talk you into doing an Audible version at some point, so I can read it, or maybe you can just read it to me on Clubhouse.
Well, we can do. I'll tell you what. We'll do a Wheel of Sustainability book club on Clubhouse.
That would be awesome. That would be fun. People would come in. You'd get a crowd on there. It would be fun. You'd probably sell a bunch of books actually too.
You'll have to teach me how to you'll have to help me get through. You can coach me through that technology. How's that?
Yeah, totally. Most of the guests that come on there. So every time a star, not to get off on a rabbit trail, but every time a new star comes on, Snoop Dogg just joined Clubhouse, or who was the Tesla guy? Why can't I think of his name right now? Elon Musk, he almost broke the whole app, but he comes on. So anytime somebody comes on, they get hosted, and then a bunch of people hear them talk, and they always have no idea what Clubhouse is, or their stuff's not even filled out. They're just kind of there for a welcome party. So it'd probably be fun. All right. So we'll stop yapping and we'll start talking about the 5 ways, which I put a banner up here so everybody can see, the 5 ways to improve safety and productivity at home and at work. So these tips are going to work anywhere, in your family life or in your business or whatever you want to use them for. So I'll let you go into it.
Yeah. So great. It's really 5 simple steps, and they really follow each other. And it's not a technique that I developed. It's just a technique that I help teams see how to use it so that they can improve safety and productivity. And as you said, Derek, we've used it in the home. I'm using it right now. My wife uses it. My words come back to haunt me sometimes of some of the things that we've learned how to do together. So we'll tell those stories as well. So I don't want people to think this is only business related. So it's a technique called 5S, very simple technique. Each of the 5 words starts with S. So I'll describe it, and then we'll give you an image of what that really looks like. So the first S is called sort. So the idea, and there are people on television that are doing the same thing, and I think it's great. Sort is get rid of clutter.
I'll stop you right there. We got to plug it now that you said it. One of our fellow networking group members, now we can say it. She's on Hoarders. 2nd episode aired, and I saw her live on IG talking to other people from the episode, I guess. So everybody check that out.
Yeah, Laura Souders, absolutely. Yeah. She's on Hoarders. Very pleased to hear that. And we've had a number of conversations because what she does is similar. It's not exactly the same, but it works. So, you can't beat stuff that works. So sort is the first step, and it's an amazingly powerful step. So the idea is, when I look at an area of my home or an area of my business, pick a small area, something that will be impactful. Don't try to declutter your attic or basement. Try to declutter a cutlery drawer. Try to declutter an area of your counter first, something that you can manage. So sort means get rid of everything you don't need.
And get a small win right off the bat. Give yourself a little small win.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you some home stories based on this. This is very simple stuff. But if I have 4 wrenches that do the same thing, let's get down to the one good wrench and get rid of the other 3. Now, what do I do with those other 3? I can dispose, I can donate, or I can remove, meaning I'll put them in a tub in the basement. Okay. But the reality is you'll never open the tub again. So donate it. Let's be environmentally friendly, and let's think of sustainability in another way. Let's hand it down to another generation, right? So I need the one wrench, or I need the one, I wouldn't say I need one pot or pan, because that's not true. And I'll never totally understand it, but I do know that I get the value of a good meal. So that's sort. So when I work with teams and factories, oftentimes when we do sort, when they truly understand why you do sort, we get rid of anywhere between 50 and 80% of the stuff in the facility, in the area. It's an outrageous amount. I've seen over 90%. So what does that do? What it does is it gets rid of everything that's in your way. And the only thing that you have in front of you is the thing you need. So the idea in a home is that I'm not searching for something. The idea in a factory is I'm not searching for something. And that matters, because if you're in a facility, oftentimes you need the tool, or you need the equipment, or you need the document, or you need the supply, or you need whatever. And if I'm looking for it, I'm losing time. And time, of course, is money. So we have seen productivity gains of over 50% just based on that first S of sort. Now, let's talk about safety. The safety side of that is that nothing's in your way to trip over. Nothing's in your way to stress over. Nothing's in your way to confuse you. Okay, because that is what happens, and that creates safety risks. Now, that S by itself is powerful, but it doesn't stand alone. So now let's move to the second S.
It does feel good, though. Anybody that
it does feel
takes
good.
a big old mess and cleans it up, and you kind of, every once in a while, you do that spring cleaning, or maybe your car needs cleaned out, and everybody knows that feeling that you feel like $1 billion. Everything is sunshine, and it feels really good, and you feel productive just having done that.
But just remember, the critical thing is that cleaning up is great, but keeping it clean is the hard part until you put the sustainable system in. That's why you need the other S's. So let me help you with that. So the second S is set in order. Now, what that means is whatever you said remains in the area, in your kitchen, in your pantry, in your garage, in your business. You know exactly where it is. You have placed it in the most optimal location, so that you don't have to search for it. You know exactly where it goes after you used it. You can find it in seconds, not minutes or hours. There is no question if the thing that you're looking for is where it's supposed to be, so that anybody can tell if things that you need are there and available to you. So let me give you a home example of that. So a lot of us have little pegboards with tools hanging on them, right? So I have a nice pegboard in my garage.
I was going to ask this question.
Well, of course I do. I live this stuff, are you kidding? So what I did was I determined, what I found, Derek, was I have a basement. I have tools that I was bringing up from the basement to do work in the garage sometimes. Now, I'm not a big car guy, but there are repairs that have to occur, and gardening things that occur. And that's where I do. So I was bringing stuff up and down, up and down, up and down. And I said, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why wouldn't I have a few screwdrivers, a mallet, a hammer, the various things that I would use exactly where I need them, when I need them? So that's set in order. So now not only are they hanging, but they also have outlines, and they also have labels. And the reason why they do is not really for me, but if something was missing, everybody, including me, would know that it's missing, what's missing, where it came from, and where it's supposed to go. So set in order means that not only do you have the right stuff, but you can find the right stuff. It's set in the right place. Everybody can help you maintain it that way. So if you think about your clean out, if you don't have a way to maintain it so that people can help you maintain it, they're not going to do it. Okay. But that's just the second S. Now, normally when we do that, so if I'm in a business now, think about it this way. Most areas that I've helped organize have a kind of a central critical work area. Okay. So what we say is that work area needs everything to kind of flow to it in the most optimal logical way. So if I put that pegboard 30 yards away from that optimal location, that's not helpful at all. But if I put it right at that optimal location in an ergonomic, proper height and easy reach and properly labeled, big labels, not little, now the people that use that area have everything to make them safe and productive. They're not chasing it down. They're not stressed. They can find it and they use it right where they use it. And what's interesting in businesses is most people know this is where we do work. So be it a conference room, an office, a weld shop, a work table, a workbench, an operating line, doesn't really matter what it is, right?
A restaurant kitchen.
A restaurant
Which a
kitchen,
lot of times
so
are small. I actually prefer a small kitchen where you turn, here's the oven, you turn, here's the counter, and everything's right here without going anywhere. You could even, some of the big giant restaurants have this tiny little kitchen in the back, partially because that's all there is, but partially also because it works better.
Right. So set and order also mean within arm's reach, right? So what you're looking for is like 80 to 90% of what you use, not the 10% that you use maybe once every week. This is the everyday stuff, the pot or the pan, right? The thing, put it in arm's reach if you can, as long as it doesn't get in your way. So you have to watch that. You have to watch the flow of your people, right?
I've been sucking at my water consumption ever since I lost one of these, and I got a different bottle and I didn't like it. And today I was like, I'm not drinking my water because I haven't set myself up for success. So I finally went and got a new one, and now I'm drinking water.
There you go. Good. Good. Okay. So that's just the second S. So you say, no, wait a minute. You got everything you need, only what you need, and you got it right where you need it. How could there be anything more than that? Well, there is. The next one is called shine. So the idea of this is that I actually make sure that the things that I now have remaining are in the best condition. So think about if you're a car person, it's the difference between washing your car and detailing your car. So shine means clean it to inspect it. So you know if there are any holes, corrosion, damage, cracks, issues, smells that aren't right. You know, it doesn't feel right. Why do you do that? Because you want to find that issue out before there's a failure. That's what you want to do. So if I've taken 4 wrenches down to 1, that 1 wrench has to be in optimal condition because you are now relying on that wrench. Now, most people have backups. I get that. But when I'm in that optimal location, the wrench that I grab should be the one in the best condition. So that S of shine is all about maintaining an optimal condition. So your pots and your pans, you know, if you go to Japanese steakhouse, you look at, they are shining their cook surface at all times. Why? Because then it performs exactly as expected, meaning that you and I are going to have a darn good meal, right? And they're going to make the little volcano choo-choo train, and everything's going to work exactly as they expect, because what they don't want to have happen is a surprise. So they shine. So they scrub that thing down while you're still sitting there. And that is shine. That absolutely is doing exactly that. So in your kitchen, in your garage, you are every so often verifying and cleaning your vital equipment. So think about it.
It also gives you pride in your equipment and the things you own too. If it's all clean, you want to take care of it and keep it clean, and it gives you a sense of pride for sure. And the things last longer if you take care of them and oil them and clean the dirt off, and which I don't do with my bike is a terrible mess because I don't do any of that. But if I did, it would be running a lot better.
Right. So you do point out a piece of the whole story of this with teams is pride shines through. Energy and enthusiasm. This is one of the most exciting activities that I do with groups because it's so transformative that they will actually high five. Now, this is pre-pandemic. High five, hug, cheer. I've seen tears well up in eyes of team members because they never realized how good and how helpful things could be. I've had people say things like, it used to take me 2 hours to find repair parts for this equipment, and now it takes 10 seconds. And they're telling this story to people that weren't even on the team. So that's important. Now, where Adam gets in trouble at home, right, is in the kitchen. So one day, I'll tell this story in the middle, and then I'll give you the other S's. I am not the cook, which is good. I have a couple things I could cook, but I prefer to let others that do it much better, my wife, do it. And she's pretty particular about the condition of her cooking utensils. So most of the time, I'm the dryer, I'm not the washer. I do know how to wash dishes. I just want it known, but I tend to be the dryer. So one day we're doing this a couple of months ago, or maybe a year ago. I don't really recall. It's actually in my book because it got me in a little bit of trouble. So I thought that might be amusing enough. And I've got a pot or a pan, and I actually had the audacity to question where I was placing it. That is this really the best place for this pan? It doesn't seem to be to me. Oh, and she looked at me, my wife.
There's no tape outline where.
Come on, man, this doesn't make sense. She said, look, I don't mess in your toolbox. Don't mess in mine. And I said, yes, dear, you are right. So, and it was true. So because she had designed a system for what she does to optimize it, and everything was exactly where she needed it to be. And what I have to do is one of the later S's, and we'll get to that, is comply. Stop questioning it. Enjoy the results, right? And just comply. Just suck it up, buttercup, you know? Have a nice
And
meal.
you're doing that on the job. You're kind of undercover bossing. You're overtly bossing it, kind of. You're bringing everybody in, and all that, where you see on everybody on the jobs, they hear everybody, right. Well, why do they do it this way? Why do we always have to do it this way? It's stupid. We've been doing this for 10 years. Doesn't make any sense. You're going in there and letting all those people come and voice those concerns. And a lot of those concerns are valid, and then they can be validated and fix some things.
So the key to that is a great point that you make. The key to that is that they design their future. They design their system. All I'm doing is giving them an image of what good looks like, using these tools to help them see that what is possible. Now, in the background, and this is another plug, right, for sustainability. See the thing in the center. I'm working with leadership before they even come together, to make sure that the team will be supported in whatever they decide to do. Because again, early we talked about the winning experience. If leadership's not aligned, if leadership's not ready to let go of the reins and let the team who uses the system design their system, they're not ready. So I set the leadership up for that. And then we give the team the full autonomy based upon a structure and thinking that they didn't have before. And a lot of times, if it's early in their journey of doing these things, they don't even believe that they're going to let them do what they need to do or want to do. So all of that's part of the package. That's part of what I do for the businesses. Okay, so that's the third S. So that was shine. There will be a quiz later. Anyway,
I'm writing them down. Don't worry.
Okay. The fourth S, that way, 4, is standardize. So what does that mean? So standardize means you create a structure and a process to support and hold accountability to the new system. So if I'm in a factory or a business, what we're doing is we're creating a number of audits. So think of it in a simple way. The first thing in an area, group, a team will say is, these 12 things need to be verified and made right every day. Check and set back. So for example, if I took that hammer off my tool board and I sit it down, the check would be, is the hammer back on the tool board? Are all the tools in place on the tool board? Because we've said that having the tools where I can find them is vital, critical, and safe. It will help us be productive and safe. Therefore, the rule is I either am using the hammer or it's on the board, but it can't be in between. Okay, so we have to teach. That's a leadership process that we teach to the team as well as their sponsors, to say, you cannot tolerate, once the team has decided the rules of the system, which they're all about the same, by the way, but they always come to that conclusion. They get a little help from me, but they always come to the same conclusion. The tools have to be exactly where they should always be or being used, nothing in between. No clutter on the floors, all the emergency equipment, fire extinguishers, eye washes, all those things are clear, so that if somebody were to have an emergency, they wouldn't be fighting through clutter in their way to get to it. So you're doing everything to give them the productive and safe thing. Now what you're doing is you're creating what we call a layered audit. So the person in the area has a responsibility and they actually have to sign off. And then the supporting supervisor, manager, or leader checks to support, not checks to see if they're messed up. They check to verify. Okay. They audit to support and help. So if something doesn't look right during standardize, which means that audit to verify everybody's doing it the same way. If you've defined the best way to do it, why wouldn't you want everybody to do it the same way, right? So now what we're doing is auditing to verify that's actually happening. So what do they do if somebody isn't? Well, they don't fire them. This is not what we do. What we do is we engage with them and help them understand why this is truly the safer, better way. And also we show our accountability to it and our leadership around it to say, we do not tolerate putting ourselves at risk in a safety, productivity, customer service way. So the audit is a visual. I was there, I saw it, I signed off. So from the persons using it every single day to the persons that manage it every single day to the people that you can go all the way up to the CEO. So they don't come every single day, they come maybe once a quarter. But I've seen that. I've actually seen up to CEO level do the audit. Well, what does that do? It creates the importance, the urgency, and actually goes back to your term of the pride. Hey, this is important enough. CEOs with us, and she's talking about this with us and seems to notice that we're doing this great work. How can you not be proud of that, right? So yeah, that's standardized. So you're creating a system that assures that everybody is doing it the same way, which means the system keeps working.
Yeah. You should call it pretend to be a pilot. A pilot, they never, ever, that's one thing that you never, ever skip, no matter how many years you've been doing it. You're always checking every nut and bolt. You're walking around the outside of the airplane. You're going, I've taken a few flight lessons. This thing, you're doing it. And then you also have a co-pilot a lot of the times. It's also going to check again. So it's really, they should take it with that much pride and that much urgency that pilots do.
Absolutely. And we're very glad that pilots go through that checklist every single time. I know having flown a lot, maybe not as much as some of the folks, but a lot more than some others, you're really glad that they're conservative and careful and they check every single thing. I do have a story I'm going to share that is little afield, sitting in the Shanghai airport, okay, waiting to fly 15 and a half hours home.
So it's a big, giant jumbo bus.
Big, giant jumbo sitting in the Shanghai airport. And all of a sudden we hear about this delay. Well, they found a crack in the windshield of the big, giant jumbo. Now we understand this. Now I want to go home, but this is going to be an 8 to 12 hour job. But you best not, I'm in China. I do not speak the language. Although there's a lot of English being spoken, and I'm very willing to wait. Now, there was one lady, seemed to be local, that went a little crazy, loud crazy, and started yelling at the gate agent like this was something that they should ignore. I'm sitting back there with a coworker saying, no, listen, I'll get home. I just want to get home in one piece. So
go ahead and replace the windshield, whatever you need to do.
Replace the windshield. I'm all for that. And it was so surreal that somebody filmed it. Now I didn't, but I noticed somebody got up and was filming because I guess they were going to try to get their 15 seconds of fame. I'm not sure what that was. But we sat back and watched. Now we had a 14-hour delay. So that was an absolutely brutal trip home, but there have been worse. Not for me, but that was pretty bad. But so, like you said, we're glad that the pilots take the kind of care. Now, that was a big problem, okay? But even little things, we want everything to work. So,
well, when you're in a big factory, you've got a lot of machinery that can chop arms off and chop fingers off, and there's a whole lot that can go wrong. So it's pretty imperative when you're in a factory setting.
Absolutely. But you know what? Even in businesses that aren't factories, think about this. If I let things fail, there's a customer that's going to be disappointed, right? So my processes have to be consistent and reliable and sustain. Let's go back to sustainable, right? So that's what standardize is trying to get at, that from the area of organization. But remember that each of these S's builds on each other. I can't set in place until I got rid of the clutter in sort. Okay. It just wouldn't make any sense to do that. So we always do sort. Sort day is always the first day. Okay, now that I know,
and you don't want to shine and tune your favorite wrench and then throw it in a pile of trash.
Yeah, that would be a shame. That's what we would call wasteful. And I probably wouldn't complete the week. They'd kick me out of their factory, right? So we won't do that. So it's a stepwise process. Now, there are times that you go back because you realize, hey, doing this, I found I don't even need that. That happens. But normally to get the
I do need that thing we got rid of. I do need actually 2 wrenches.
Yeah. So it's good not to throw it in the big recycling dumpster immediately. Although I've seen us do that, and we have dumpster dived before, and we do catch a little bit of flack for that. But what are you going to do? It happens very quickly. So they do build on each other. And typically most teams don't get real excited about the 4th S because to them that's paperwork. Okay. But what I'm teaching them is there's got to be a system. You can make it as visual and easy to do as possible. So the audit, I want to talk to you about this audit. The audit should never take more than 5 minutes. Okay. Because what we learn is people don't have an hour to give. People won't give you an hour to audit. People won't give you 30 minutes, but most people can set 3 to 5 minutes aside for you, especially if it's important, especially if it's going to make you safer and more productive. And we've actually shown the financial benefits of this. Okay. So it's good to have data, right? But here's one thing most businesses know. They know what their cost of labor is. They know what their cost of downtime is. So if my service system is down for a minute, revenue is being lost. So there's a cost to that. So when we do 5S in an area, we typically are able to reduce time to respond by at least 50%. So we can actually put a valuation on it. Now, there's all sorts of side benefits, like you said, pride, ownership, leadership, quality, safety, all those wonderful other things, customer service. But if you really are tough on the financials, I can help you with those because we did it. We've done it many times. I haven't had to do that lately because most people that know me realize this stuff works. And, I can give them an image of what it would look like. But that's 4 S's. But you said, well, wait, Adam, there's 5 S's. So I have to know what they are. So go ahead.
What's the 5th S? What's the 5th S?
I'm so glad you asked that, Derek. I'm so glad you asked. So the 5th is called sustain. Well, that's shocking. So the idea of sustain is what you're trying to do is take today's performance and keep driving it to be better and better every single day. So it's a leadership process, and it's all about getting everybody to say, this is great, but let's not let it get back to the way it was. Let's keep pushing ourselves to be better and better. So we actually score. There's a very simple way to score an area. And I have that document. I could send it to anybody, but very simple, less than 5 minute type effort to score the area. The idea is the top score you can get is a 5.0, which means there are 12 components so it's documents and emergency equipment and it's tools and it's manuals and it's floors. And I don't remember all of them because that would bore everybody to tears. But anyway, the idea is, okay, so we started the week and we'll actually do a baseline score of an area. And typically a
sustainability score.
Yes. So an actual 5S audit score. So the team will learn how to look at their area using this method, and I'll have them give their baseline score. And typically it'll be less than a 1.0. So the best you can be is 5.0. You have 12 components of it. So you score each one of them and then you take the average. So pretty simple stuff. The math is easy, thank goodness, right? Again, it's got to be less than 5 minutes. And by the end of the week, it's not unusual to be at least 4.0 or better. which is pretty darn good because most areas do not start that way. Actually, unless they've done this a number of times before, no areas start that way. Even the most organized person can improve. It's shocking. That's a story in my book, page 136. Now, I actually don't know what page it's on, but it's a story of what a group thought was the most organized person. She had an area that she was the owner of, and she, it was kind of our first target area in a lab and pilot plant area, and just the transformation of not only her area, but her own thinking and the team that helped her. They just couldn't believe how much better they were able to make her area. And she was known as the most organized, holding people accountable person of the whole group. So her mind was blown, and she kept telling those stories to other people. But anyway, that last S is that sustain piece. And again, this is a leadership process. It's you and I, not to say, hey, you guys are no good, but it's all about what do you need? What do we need to do to help you to be even better? What did we not get to do during that 3 days or 4 days or 2 hours or whatever, so that we can keep driving your area to be safer and more productive? So again, doesn't have to be manufacturing. Think about companies that use kind of central locations for supplies and printing and meetings and all those things. How do we make those more productive? You can use 5S on those. I'll give a boring one. It's not boring. Conceptually, it's boring, but it was actually quite transformative. A capital group that had to keep files on every capital project they had done for decades, because that was a company policy, had, I'm not making this up, 44 horizontal file cabinets around about 3 or 4 different buildings within their company. And there was one person that was in charge of keeping track of every file. And so when she went on vacation, that was horrible, because all the capital engineers couldn't find their files, right? There was no system. So we said, well, why don't we try 5S for that? So what we did was we repurposed an old utility closet, but we actually painted it and put lighting in it all in the same week. And we took our 44 file cabinets and we were able to turn them into less than 22. All of them in that one space. We actually created a work area. So if I needed a file, but I just needed for a few seconds, there was like a little workbench, right? Or a work desk right in that space. So again, this was all about setting an order to optimize the work, because oftentimes these capital engineers, once they found the thing, they just needed some quick information. So the find could take anywhere from minutes to hours to days in the past. And walking it back to their location was wasting time just to get one piece of information. So what we did was we made a really great space for them and had a desk right there. The find now took less than 2 minutes. And if they didn't have to go back to their desk, they could get the information right then and there. So we basically upped their productivity by about, factor of 5. So 22 cabinets, they designed the system to keep track of everything. They had one area owner and they audited it on a daily, weekly, and quarterly basis. And now when she went on vacation, and I still can picture her, no one panicked. No one called her at home anymore because they could find their files. The system was so easy to follow that now, then she could up her game and do other work, right? Because she was not just tracking and filing projects. What she was doing was making sure that all the proper policies were being followed and all the information was being tracked through the whole life of a project. So for the old ones as well as the current ones. So you can apply it. It doesn't have to be a manufacturing location. And you can do that in your home. Now, I will tell you, if people are curious, no, we do not have written audits at my home. We do not do that. They might
be only for yourself. You only audit yourself in secret. Your little.
No.
She doesn't find you out in the garage secretly, compulsively auditing your own organization.
So we're not quite as extreme as that, but we know when something needs a little effort. It needs to be put back to standard. Where did the mallet go? Right? Who had that mallet? Did the new puppy get the mallet? No, I don't think so. It's either me, my son, or my wife. Likely it's me, maybe 2% of the time my wife, and maybe 1% of the time my son. So, it's not hard to audit. No need for a document. But when you have multiple people in multiple locations or multiple shifts, then you do need to have something that says, hey, I did this, I signed off. I mean, I finished the checklist, I finished the audit, that kind of thing. Because you really do want to know, well, who do I need to talk to? If they're not doing it right, I don't want to yell at them, although some people do that, but I do want to encourage and teach and train and mentor and coach and all those things. Because again, the system is for everybody. It's not just for one person, right?
Yeah.
So that's
so when you do this with teams, you go to let's say a factory.
Yep.
Do you break them up into groups and send a group over to work on their area by themselves? You give them the parameters and say, go work on it yourself. And then you go and kind of audit what they've done and then say, here's a way you could do it better and that kind of thing? Or are you walking them through every area from beginning to end? Or is there some autonomy?
So we pick an area for the whole team to work on. So they take the journey from the beginning to end with me and together.
But the people that actually do that job are more input, more in charge, kind of directing it a little bit more.
So one of the stories I talk about, you might have heard about the weld shop. I don't know if I told you about that one. Is that one that we talked about last quarter?
I don't know. It doesn't ring a bell.
So 5 welders and their supervisor decided they needed to use this process for their weld shop. Why? Because when equipment goes down and needs a welder, that's a pretty significant problem. So we want to improve the productivity of the weld shop so that they can respond to those calls in a safer, quicker manner. And right before we started, it was taking them 2 hours to get even prepared to respond because, I won't go into levels of detail. So what we did was we basically used the same system on their weld shop with a goal of taking response from hours to minutes and creating a much safer environment for the welders to work in. So my team was actually, I believe it was 5 welders, 1 supporting engineer, and their supervisor, who was the team leader. So it's just me and 7 welders, 7, I call them my grumpy team. They started off all grumpy. But once they got it, and they were very skeptical. They're all mechanically inclined, and management's making us do this. And all of a sudden they realize early in day one, hey, this is for us. We get to design our shop the way we want it. We are the welders. Now they had this weld shop in place, and it was the word disaster comes to mind, lots of sharp metal laying all over the place. There was actually, the craziest thing was the first person in on the morning was entering a dark weld shop that was maybe 20 to 30 yards long by, let's call it 30 foot wide. So pretty good space, big factory. And the light for the weld shop was inside the shop about 20 yards away from where you come in. Now, the problem was in some of my early photos, you can't even see the light switch because it's hidden behind all the scrap metal. It had been designed that way 9 years before. So one of my questions, when you think about safety, well, you have to go through clutter, and your clutter is sharp to get to the light. So you're going in the dark to get to the light. So guess what we did? Well, we moved the light to the outside of the shop.
Right. Alexa, turn on the lights.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't have
There's a lot of easy fixes. Yeah, but they just haven't done it.
Fixes. But now this was a very big safety thing. This was not, but we also got rid of, in this case, about 95% of the clutter. We'll call it 90% of what was in there was clutter. So it was amazing what we got rid of. We had these big metal dumpsters that we filled up, and there were people that weren't on the team that were like taking stuff out, like Fred and Lamont, Sanford and something. Like, we can't throw this away, dude. What are you going to do with it? It's garbage. It's scrap. So
take it home if you want it.
Yeah, and yeah. So that was no issue. But when this was done, they had this weld shop is absolutely amazing. We did that about 3 years ago. I still get photos. Every so often I get photos from the supervisor of what they did now to make it even better. And I told the guy, I said, I have never seen a weld shop. I've been in hundreds of factories around the world, hundreds of them. Never seen a weld shop that looked like that good. Unbelievable. Because these guys were so competitive, I could keep pushing them to get even better during the session. And by the end, what they had is a showplace. And I would love for people to see it because it just blows my mind. But by the end, they had an audit. They had a picture of the area owner. They had clear expectations. And they told the plant manager what he was responsible to do every week. And here's the good news. He does it to this day to support their efforts, because they now, when the line needs a welder, it takes less than 10 minutes to be ready to help instead of 2 hours. It was taking over 2 hours. So that's money in the bank. That's productivity and that's safety. That's where the system can actually help people, and they own it. This is not a management owned thing. The supervisor was there to basically remove roadblocks. What he was doing was supporting his people. So if they said, we need something, he said yes. And I had advised him before then, no matter what we ask for, the answer has to be yes. I said, I don't think we'll need to spend much money, but if we do, you can't say, what does it cost? You have to say yes. Well, he took it to the extreme. He was encouraging them to do stuff, which was fantastic. So when we said we need to move the light, I said, listen, you got any folks on off shift? See, our team could have moved the light, but then we would have lost valuable time working on the system. He said, I got 2 electricians on the off shift. Let me see if they've got enough in their, capability and capacity. And they did. Not only did they move the lights that evening overnight for us, which was big, they also moved power supply, air, right over the central table where the welders do their work, which we had set in order. So they used to have 2 tables that were pretty far apart. They pushed them together because they said, even together, 2 guys can still do work, but now we need the power and light perfectly centered over this location. And I said, well, how good are your guys on off shift? And supervisor said, darn good. That's not exactly what it said. And they were, because when we came in the next morning, air, power, light, perfect for them to do their work. So what that does, you talk about pride and enthusiasm. What it says is they're listening to us. They value us. We're going to be the best weld shop anybody's ever seen. I mean, that's the way they started acting by day 2. We did this for 4 days. So mind-blowing stuff. Seen it dozens, if not hundreds of times. It doesn't have to be a big weld shop. We've done, like I said, the Capitol closet. That might have been a 20 by 30 foot space, maybe not even that. It was some old dingy closet that turned into, but that was painted with lights, everything moved, system in place before we left at the end of the week. So that's the sustain side. Everything, the whole system has to be implemented. So people have heard me sometimes talk about how people like to give suggestions and then leave. This is not what this work is. We're going to do it together. We're going to implement it together, and then they're going to own it. Then we leave.
And it can be used for anything from a giant factory making international products down to a drawer that you start with, like you said, to get that quick win. So it can work for anything. And I love this episode. It's very informational, and it's lots of steps that people can take and implement right now in their life. And just start with that first one is clear out a drawer. Or I'm a big pile. I like sorting. I move everything out of the room or out of the area I'm trying to clean first. I clean the room so I get that quick win, and then I go deal with all the crap I moved out of the room, if it's trash, or put it away or whatever. So everybody might have their own way to do it, but the steps work nonetheless.
Well, start small, Derek, and you're right. Start small. So let me give you one little quick story of the quick win. So
I know you can't do a quick story, so I'm going to have to cut you off because we're going to have to do our funny question and get out of here in 5 minutes.
Your funny question. We'll save it for the next
I hate cutting you off, but yeah, we'll be back.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
So pick a number between 1 and 75.
18.
18. All right. And I just Google funny questions. If no one's watched before, I Google funny questions. There's 81 of them on here. The guest picks a number. He's picked 18. So which would you prefer to have as your roommate? A goat or a bird? That's kind of cool.
A goat.
A goat? Huh.
Let me tell
Okay,
you
why?
Because they eat anything. So if I need to get rid of clutter, right, I can just have the goat eat it. And if you watch old cartoons, it's Billy Boy. And Billy Boy just ate everything. So you guys Google that one. Hey, Billy Boy. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I was thinking the opposite for the same exact reason. That goat's going to eat all my stuff. That bird might. It depends if the bird's caged or not, too, because I don't want poop all over the house either.
Now, remember, in corporate, they used to call them corporate seagulls, right? They'd come in, swoop down, and leave a mess and then fly away. So that always had a bad connotation. So I like the goat. But yeah, goats come with their own issues.
You could maybe get a muzzle or something, or if you feed them a lot, maybe they don't have to eat everything. But you guys can see there, pipartners.com is where you can find Adam, and also in the description, which could be above us or below us, depending on where you're watching this, is the link to his book, The Wheel of Sustainability, on Amazon, and the Kindle version right now is for free, like you said. So please pick up. So pipartners.com, and his phone number, email, all that stuff is there. You can find it and reach out to him however you want to. LinkedIn is his favorite social platform of choice. Right. So if you want to follow Adam, LinkedIn would probably be the best place, and I'll leave your information. And your special offer is the book link is in the description, and it's free right now. So go hit that up, and I'll actually put that in our email for next week. How long does that go? Do you know?
Yeah, so we're going to do that through Saturday. So I started on Tuesday, and it goes through Saturday. So more downloads, more better. So enjoy it. The goal is for people to learn the system and hopefully give me a ring sometime and we'll talk more about it. I'll tell you the story that Derek had to cut off.
Yeah, there you go. You got to leave him wanting something. So that's good.
That's good.
If you are interested in a business spotlight package, which consists of Greg coming to your business, doing behind the scenes, kind of showing what you do, how the sauce is made, and then an interview like you're seeing here with me and Adam, going a little bit more in depth on your business and you as a person, and then a networking mixer at your business, COVID and your business permitting. If you're interested in one of those, reach out to us. You can go to the website, supportcentralpa.com, to apply for one of those. I can tell you that if you want all three, a proper business spotlight package, we're booked out till like August or so. But if you want to do an episode with me, just reach out to me. I'll shoot you a link. I love to promote more Central PA businesses as long as I have time in my schedule. If you want to get all our exclusive special offers, I'm not going to be able to get it into the email. I wish I would have known. I would have put it in this week's previous email and Monday's email, but that's all right. Everybody who's watching this, go pick up the Kindle book before Saturday. What else? If you're watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube, there's the book. The other way, I always point the wrong way. If you're watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube or anywhere other than Facebook, please head over to Facebook and join our group, supportcentralpa.com. A reminder that we're on Clubhouse after this. I got 2 minutes to wrap this all up, so I'm going quick. If you need to buy or sell a house, hit me up, text me, email me, throw a rock through my window, send a carrier pigeon, whatever we need. Inventory really, 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 really bad. Prices are way high, blah, blah, blah. Remember to support Central PA small business. Thanks for watching and listening. Say goodbye, Adam. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Adam.
See you, Derek. Thanks.
See ya.